Hello and welcome to the Talk Football podcast. My name's Tommy Hay and I'm joined here by Kieran Quayle, the editor of Get Spanish Football News Online. Kieran, it's Wednesday morning, the sun's shining here in Madrid and La Liga is finally back tomorrow. How do you feel?
I'm very excited, Tommy. Looking forward to it now that we've got 110 games in 39 days. So it's definitely worth waiting for. It's been a long enough 3 months without the whole thing, but we've managed to get through it and we're finally back. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm really relieved now that we're not going to be just talking about transfer news and when the league's going to come back. Because that was like, it did seem to be that there was no future for this because there was all these provisional dates being put out and there was nothing confirmed. So to actually have some concrete games to talk about is so good.
Yeah, the last game was Eibar against Real Sociedad on the 10th of March and it feels like much longer than 3 months ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Seville derby and many other games this weekend.
Yeah, 10 o'clock at night kickoff for the Seville derby on Thursday. Where will you be watching that and how will you be doing it?
I'll be watching it from home on the laptop. I'm still in Ireland, so I haven't got back to Spain just yet. But I'll definitely be tuning in. It'll be 9 o'clock here, so it won't be as severe. And definitely won't be as hot over here. So I feel for anybody that would be playing in that game tomorrow night, especially with the weather down in Seville. But The fact that it's a huge Andalusian derby, two teams with big traditions and history, it should be a good one.
Yeah, the last one was an absolute cracker as well. 2-1. It finished at the Via Marin. One big difference for Sevilla this time is that Ocampos probably won't be there. He was the one that scored the opening goal in the last game. So he won't be there. De Jong will be there, who scored the winning goal in that match, but it's going to be a slightly different Sevilla team for this game. What can we expect from this game?
Yeah, it's a tough one to call, really. The fact that we're after having a break for 3 months, it's even longer than the normal preseason, and you've got no new signings, but you've got players coming back who wouldn't have been playing due to injury in February and March. So it'll be probably two strong teams going out for it, and it'll be interesting to see what way they line up. Lopetegui normally has his own aggressive high pressing formation, and he'll be relying on maybe sneaking a 1-0 because that's what they've done for most of the season, and they haven't really been putting teams away 3 or 4-0. It's been more close encounters. So I think it'll be something similar tomorrow night. We've got no fans, which is a pity, but that's just the way it's going to be, and we have to get used to that. So the fans won't be a factor, but I think the fact that the players know how big of a game this is and they'll have bragging rights for the next few months, there's going to be a lot of focus and attention on it. It's the first game back as well, so that's going to add to the hype, and it's just going to be good to have it back. But yeah, I think maybe Seville just to nick it by a close one. I'm not really sure. I think Betis have big players in Joaquin and Fekir, so they're definitely dangerous. But Seville have been tight at the back. They've been quite consistent at the back as well. And the likes of Carlos there, Reguilon, they've got Jesus Navas, plenty of experience. So I think they'll be able to keep it tight enough. And yeah, I just expect them to nick it. What way do you see it going?
Probably just the nicking it as well. They've made a real habit of that this season, Sevilla. They've only got a goal difference of plus 10. They've scored 39 in the league. They've conceded 29. But when you look at the teams around them, they have a really inferior goal difference. But that's what's got them to this position. They're up in third place now, purely by nicking games by 1 goal, sometimes 2. But they don't go out and destroy teams. But it's not really been necessary for them this season. So. But it's really tight up at the top. If you look at the league table, between Sevilla in third place and Valencia in 7th, there are only 5 points. So it's really, really exciting up there.
Yeah, definitely all to play for. There's still 11 games to go, 11 games to be played over the next 5 weeks. So it's going to be pretty intense. There's going to be lots of movement. I'm sure we'll see plenty of changes up there. The fact that you've got Sevilla on 47 points and Valencia down in 7th on just 42. So you've got Atleti and Getafe, and they'll be challenging as well. So there's lots to play for, which makes it really exciting. You've got a title race, 2 points separating Barca and Madrid, and then you've got lots of challenging for Europa League and Champions League places down there as well. So It's pretty interesting coming back into it, and teams will be playing twice per week. So you're going to have like lots of changes in terms of personnel, and then obviously on the league table as well, because it's going to be hard to keep up. You've got games spread out throughout the next 5 weeks, and it'll be looking at the table every day, kind of who's moving into what position, and probably won't be until maybe the next 3 or 4 weeks before we actually start seeing who's going to be properly fighting towards the end, because I'm expecting lots of it to go with like the last couple of weeks, the fact that it is so tight throughout the whole table.
Yeah. An interesting thing that you mentioned there is that there's going to be so many games in such a short space of time, and we've spoken about this, and there's been a lot of talk about this in the media and from pundits and the like. How much of a factor is fatigue going to be here? Obviously, they've had this break. They're obviously all young athletes and stuff like that. But you know, it's going to be a really intensive run-in. So how much will fatigue play a part when you look through the different teams? Do you think any of the teams might suffer more than another team, perhaps?
Yeah, I think the teams with the thinner squads, they'll be kind of put up to the test a bit more. And the likes of Real Madrid have a big squad to choose from. Zidane only has 2 absentees through injury. That's Luka Jovic and Nacho. So they should be okay. They'll be able to rotate. And now you've got the new 5 sub rule. So there's going to be plenty of subs coming and going. Some of the more experienced teams, maybe like Levante, they've got a couple of older players. Ruben Marchina, Jose Luis Morales, they might suffer, thinner squads and more veterans around. So I think the fact that they've had a 3-month period, plenty of rest, but it's hard to get back into it. And it's not going to be until they get maybe 2 or 3 games under their belt they're actually going to get back to that match fitness. So teams will be kind of praying and having their fingers crossed that players don't get knocks early on, because you're gonna really want to not ease your way back into it, but be quite diligent about how you go about your team selection and making the right calls early on in terms of substitutes and rotation and different lineouts. So it's going to be definitely a test for managers and fitness coaches just to see how they're going to adapt to this, because it's totally new, and the fitness coaches will really have their work cut out for them over the next few weeks, and it'll be probably less training than ever, because if you've got 2 matches in 7 days, it's going to be match, recovery, maybe light training, and then match. And the fact that they've been building up over the last couple of weeks, they've only had 10 days to actually have full group training. They only returned to group training on the 1st of June. So teams have been trying to organise 11v11s, but they've only had 10 days. So it's actually, when you look at it from that perspective, it's been pretty quick. It's been a tight enough timeline for them, because before that they were doing individual training and in small groups, but you're not getting the same run out. So Jose Bordalas, the head coach of Getafe, was speaking yesterday. He's actually got a column now for the BBC, which was pretty surprising to see. And he was saying that at Getafe during the coronavirus outbreak, they had players training at home, and they obviously had to lend their players facilities like different treadmills and ice bikes so they could keep on top of it. So a lot of players would have struggled over the last couple of months because they just didn't have the facilities at home, and they didn't know how to, maybe they weren't nobody to be accountable to, or they maybe didn't have the motivation. There was one particular player at Getafe whose family went back to Nigeria, and he was basically lonely and depressed, and the club had to keep really regular contact with him. So it's only coming back into the group training now over the last 10 days. It's been a really tough period for a lot of people, and they mightn't be ready for this just yet. So it's going to be kind of a bedding in phase, I suppose. And they'll be thrown straight into the deep end for a few weeks.
Yeah, and you might see that 1 or 2 teams are a bit sluggish, as we saw in the German league with, I said this on a previous podcast, but Schalke, for example. Schalke's game against Dortmund, they really looked, they just weren't at the races compared to Dortmund, and that maybe came into, there were probably various factors at play there, but it was noticeable. So some teams will probably bounce back from this faster than others. I think one team that will be very happy that they've had a little bit of time to recover would be Sociedad. Because I think a big part of Sociedad's strength this season is the fact that they've managed to keep more or less all of their players fit, and certainly their big players fit. If you just look down the squad, like Isaac, for example, Isaac's played in all 34 games. Oyarzábal's played 33, Merino's played 32 games. So these are top players for them, really important players, and they've constantly been fit. So I think this break for them has been good because that would have inevitably come to an end. So that's one team that would have been happy.
Yeah, and the fact they're a young squad as well, they'll be raring to go and flying fit. Like you've got Odegaard, Mikel Merino, Diego Llorente. Like they're not old players. They're all in their early 20s to mid 20s. So for the likes of them, a 5-week period is going to be intense, but they're going to be ready for it because they've just got the extra fitness levels and they're going to recover much more quickly than older teams. So yeah, it'll be fascinating. Sociedad have had an unbelievable season. I think they're worth mentioning. They're fourth, and they'll be buzzing for it now. Like they're home to Osasuna, so I'd expect them to win that, and they'll be really hoping to get a Champions League spot. Like it's a big club up there in the Basque Country, and they've had European success in the past. They've gotten into Europe, but they haven't really done much in the last few years. So there's been lots of chopping and changing going on there, and you'd probably expect more of the same over the next couple of transfer windows because there's so many high profile players now, and they're kind of showing their value, and that's why they're so high up the table. So that'll be very interesting to watch over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think
them to get a European place.
I think they've just been great to watch this season. Why do you think it's gone so well for them? I mean, we've mentioned the youth in the squad. We've mentioned the fact that they've not really been plagued by injuries in the same way that perhaps Atletico have. You know, they've managed to keep the squad fairly fit. But what is it about them that they've just done so well? Is it maybe the fact that they're able to play? They've got different styles of play. They've got the plan A, which is obviously silky football, really easy on the eye. And sometimes if that's not working, they'll have a plan B, which is Alexander Isak and playing directly. They seem to have a lot of variety in their squad.
Yeah, and they play with a sense of freedom that you don't really see in football anymore. It's more rigid now, but they've just seemed to given Oyarzabal and Odegaard these free roles. Obviously, there's structure to it, but every time they start and they take teams on, like they don't give anybody a minute, and they just go out and they play in the way that I believe football should be played, and they play on the counter then as well. So they're fast, they're young players who probably haven't been at this level until this season. So Oyarzabal has been brilliant. Obviously, Spanish under-21 international. He helped them win the Euros, and he's the captain. He's only 22, so like big futures. And then Odegaard came in, and it could have went the other way for Odegaard as well because nobody really expected this. Like he's the player that joined Real Madrid at 16, huge pressure, and he had a few loan deals elsewhere across Europe, and then he's coming into Real Sociedad. And at the start of the season, I saw him play against Valencia, and he had this free role. Yaramendi was kind of sitting in the defensive midfield pivot role, and Odegaard he was everywhere that day. And I was kind of thinking, I've never seen this boy play live, and I was kind of, you get this impression, he's past it, or he hasn't made it, or he wasn't able to make it at Real Madrid, and then he gets a move to Sociedad, and he's just taken it by storm. And since August, he's been brilliant the whole way throughout the season. So I suppose they've just built in this confidence that they got early on, and they've just gone from strength to strength. And young players like Isak as well up front. William Jose has scored 9 goals. So just throughout the team, they've been superb.
Isak's been my favourite. I just think he's been brilliant. Every single game he's come on and done something. You think back to the Basque Derby against Bilbao. He came on and really changed the game there. Right at the beginning of the season, back in August, they had a tricky game away to Mallorca, and it was 0-0 for most of the game, and they just weren't breaking through. They were playing nice stuff, but Mallorca kind of had them fairly controlled. Isak came on and just... It's funny because he's a big, tall, skinny guy, but he can bully people. Yeah. He's not weak. You'll put his weight about. And he did that and opened things up for Oyarzabal and Odegaard. And Odegaard ended up getting the winning goal on that day. So they can really dig out results. And the fact that they've got a bit of strength and depth there in the squad has really been good for them. So yeah, they've been great to watch. And Oyarzabal as well. I think he is, as you say, one for the future. He's actually said he would like to stay at the club as well, which is, really encouraging if you're a Sociedad fan.
Yeah, and supposedly Athletic Club wanted him. They were looking at it, and they've got huge cash reserves there at the club because they don't really spend. They produce local talent. So there was a report in The Athletic, a very, very good piece done by Dermot Corrigan, who's an Irish journalist for The Athletic, and he focuses on La Liga, and he had a couple of interviews with people around the club in Athletic Bilbao, and he was saying that they want Oyarzabal. So I don't know whether he'll be able to make the move. Inigo Martinez made the move, and it's not that common to see transfers between both clubs because they're Basque derby rivals, and I love watching Oyarzabal. So wherever he ends up, I think he's going to be a joy to watch. But why don't move just yet, because he's captain there. He's trying to get them into the Champions League place, and I'd like to see him there for another couple of seasons.
Mm-hmm. If you had to stick your neck out and go for two teams that will get the Champions League place, we haven't even spoken about Atletico. But who do you think the two will be? Do you think Sevilla will manage to keep their place up there in third?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah,
thanks very much.
Atletico aren't scoring goals, and Sevilla don't score many. So, but they're Sevilla's able to grind out wins. Getafe are there, but I don't know if Getafe have a big enough squad to be able to do it. So if I had to put my neck on the line, I'd say Real Sociedad and Atletico Madrid to make a late surge.
I'm going to disagree with you there with Getafe. I think they do have a good enough squad. I think they've got quite a lot of good strength and depth. See, if you look at their full-backs and their wingers and stuff like that, they can all interchange. Cucurella can play left back, left mid. They've got a lot of, they're able to interchange really well, and they've got 4 really good strikers. And Molina's playing about as good as he's ever played as well. He's been a revelation. I think they maybe don't have strength and depth in the middle of the park with what's his face, Nemanja Maksimovic, with Maksimovic and Ambari, for example. They don't really have too much. If they go, they've got a problem. But as long as they're fit, it's a good squad.
Yeah, it's generally the same 11. That would be my only concern. Like, if the boys who were to come in, I know Angel up front is able to come in for Molina or Jaime Mata and replace and score goals. He's got 10 goals. So I think they do have it up front. But elsewhere, I'd just be worried if they did lose a couple of players, because I think they play that 4-4-2 and it's quite consistent, and it's the same team. And I think that's how they've actually built their success, the foundation there, because it's been so consistent. So I think on paper I'd go with Atleti, but Atleti are going to need to treat this like a new season, because they haven't been good at all. And I think they're quite lucky to be still so close to, they're only 2 points off Sevilla in third. So I think they'll be looking at this thinking, we can absolutely finish third here. I think on paper they're well fit to do it. It's just whether they're able to get it going, and who they're going to play, where they're going to get their goals from. Is Thomas Lemar going to actually start?
I don't see that.
Is he going to come in? Is he going to get a new lease to life? Marcus Llorente scored 2 goals against Liverpool and Anfield. He'll be buzzing. I'd say he can't wait to get back into it. And he actually was set up in a formation at training under Simeone there during the week, and he was playing in the hole behind Diego Costa. So maybe they're seeing a new role for him, and they're trying to get goals from elsewhere, because it just hasn't been working for them at all this season. They haven't been scoring. They've only been winning games. I mean, Atletico were never a team for battering teams 5 or 6-0 anyway. It was always a 1-0 or a 2-1, and this season they're quite light. João Felix hasn't hit the ground running. He's back from injury, though he was back training there a couple of days ago for them. So he'll be, there's a lot of opportunities here for these players. Their season isn't over yet. I think Simeone just has enough experience. Mono Burgos, their assistant, is going at the end of the season, and I think the players will be playing for him as much as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I just think they have that experience to get over the line, and they'll just sneak in.
Where do you think Morata will fit in all this? Because he'll be on a high as well after that Liverpool game, and he is their top scorer, isn't he? He's got 8 goals.
Yeah.
So
he's their top scorer.
Where does he fit in? They've Costa's back, and Llorente's got a new lease of life. You've got to play Morata, no? Yeah,
you have to play him. Costa's in his 30s now. I think we've seen the best of Costa. I think he's past it, and he doesn't look as fit as he once was. He's obviously still the brat that we all love. Elbows going everywhere, headbutts, winding defenders up. You gotta love watching him, especially when Atletico can't be so boring. That Costa just kind of brings the game to life and gets the crowd going. So I think you have to start Morata. He's younger. He's a good finisher. He just needs some more opportunities, more chances coming his way. He hasn't had much support from midfield either. And then in midfield you've got good players there, but they just haven't been up to, like, Saul hasn't hit the heights. Thomas Partey was good throughout most of the season. Koke, his numbers just aren't good enough. Koke, like, he's club captain and he'll give you everything, but I think as a midfielder he probably needs a little bit more creativity. So
yeah,
they're always strong at the back. They've probably the best goalkeeper in the world in Jan Oblak, so you can expect them to keep a couple of clean sheets.
Trippier's been good as well.
Goal threat.
Yeah,
he's been very, very good.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is, though, I mean, with Atletico is, I mean, we do it every week. We slag them off every single week for not scoring goals and stuff, and for being not the best team to watch. But they have had really bad injury problems. And a player like Koke, for example, that's a creative player, or a normally creative player, who he's really suffered. He was out for a couple of months now. Before, at the beginning of this year, he was out. So they've really suffered with injuries. Felix has been injured. They've had a few, and Trippier was injured towards the end there as well. So it's not been the easiest season for them in terms of injuries. I don't think you could blame their bad season on injuries, but it certainly hasn't helped.
No, it hasn't, and you'll be expecting them to definitely pick up and improve on it. I'd say from that game at Anfield as well, they'll be, even though it's 3 months now, they'll be still looking back to that and thinking, okay, this is what we can actually do. Like, we knocked out the European champions and arguably the best team in the world. So they'll take a lot of confidence from that. And maybe that'll be just like the little kickstart that they need. But the break probably came at the wrong time for Atletico, whereas for some other teams, it'll have happened at the right time.
Yeah, I think obviously nobody would have been really happy to have the whole league stopped, and especially under the circumstances that they were stopped in. But it will have come at a good time for Atletico just to breathe a little bit, and and get a few players back. But in terms of the momentum that they would have got from that Liverpool game, that would have been massive. So their fans will be hoping that they can carry that on, and I see no reason why they can't finish in the top four. But I don't really see a weak team up there. I mean, they've all got their strengths. Sevilla, as you say, can grind out results. Getafe are strong. I think they've got a good squad as well. They've certainly got a good manager who knows how to grind out results. And Atletico, if you can knock out the European champions, you can certainly finish third or fourth in La Liga. So it's going to be an interesting one up there. And Sociedad, obviously, are doing well too. Good young squad. So for me, it would be very difficult to pick a winner there. I think certainly you wouldn't want to be finishing seventh, because if you finish seventh, you're going to be leaving your fate up to the Copa del Rey final, and you would hope that try to think what way around you would want this. Yeah, you would hope for the right result in that one. So yeah, you would hope that Bilbao would win that one. No, you would hope that Sociedad would win that one, so it wouldn't matter. That's what it is. Yeah. You'd hope that Sociedad would win the final so that Bilbao don't get the 7th place in Europe. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really interesting run in Valencia. Where do you see Valencia? Do you think they're going to be a dark horse?
Yeah, I haven't a clue with them, because with Solades it was really tough. Like he had a couple of dodgy results, and then they beat Barcelona at home, and fans got kind of their hopes up again, and they've had a lot of injuries as well. Like, they've had to deal with over 30 injuries to players, and Solades is still a young manager, and they've been so inconsistent. They're still 7th, so I'm not sure if I think out of all the teams, I'd say that they're the least favourites to get into Champions League spot. The fact that they've been the worst hit as well for the coronavirus. They got so many cases. Obviously, those players are back and they've all tested negative now, and they're all back training. But they got a really bad doing from that game against Atalanta, and a lot of controversy around that, because the Atalanta coach came out last week and said that he was actually feeling the symptoms on the day of the game in Valencia, and then Valencia hit back and they were basically saying, this is really surprising, we can't actually believe he's saying this. So there was some controversy. So I don't know, like, obviously that's in the past now, and they'll be looking to hit a European spot, but I don't know about Valencia. Very, very hard to call.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I wouldn't see them getting the Champions League places, and even the European. The European spots, I would probably tip them to finish 7th. and maybe have to rely on the Copa del Rey result to get in. So you never know, though. They've got a few talented players. I mean, Ferran Torres has been great, and they can turn it on. Rodrigo Moreno as well, when he wants to, can really play. So
I think with their current squad, 7th is probably a good place for them.
Yeah, I think so. And especially the turmoil that they've had, losing their manager at the start of the season, bringing in a new one, having a slight change of style and things like that. It's been not the easiest season for them. So I think 7th place would be decent enough for them. Okay, away from the European battle, let's go to the top of the table. It's good that we haven't spoken about Barca or Madrid per play, isn't it? Usually all we're talking about, or at least in the last few months, all we've been talking about is transfer rumours related to them. But I'm glad that we're managing to talk about the other teams now and actual football stuff. Regarding Barca, the news is for their away game to Mallorca, Messi will be back in the squad. He was a little doubt. And Semedo and Monchi will also be back in the squad, which is good news for them. How important has Messi been for them? I know he's important every season, but particularly this season, how important has he been?
Yeah, I think this season he's really stood up to it because he doesn't have the support that he probably previously had with the likes of Neymar and Luis Suarez in his prime, and players like Iniesta, Xavi treading passes through. It just hasn't been a fantastic Barcelona team this season. It's been more of one player. Like Griezmann's chipped in with his fair share. Suarez has scored a few goals. Midfield's been a bit mix and match. It's been kind of there's no real starting 11 there as such. Like you don't really know who he's going to play in the middle. Is going to be Busquets? Is it going to be Rakitic, De Jong, Artur Melo? You don't know. So it hasn't really been that consistent. And Setien's going to come in, I suppose, and he didn't have that much time, so he'll have probably an idea in his head. Okay, this is what I want. I want to get some stability and obviously build it around Messi, who scored 19 goals. He's got the most goals and the most assists in the league. Like, so his stats continue to be outstanding. And yeah, he's back. He's fit again. He didn't train with the group for a couple of days last week, but he returned to training there on Monday, so he looks ready. Setien said on radio on Sunday night that he's fine, and that Suarez is going to be back in as well. So you'd expect those to start with with Griezmann up top, and Mallorca are struggling down the bottom. So it should be comfortable for them. I don't think they'll have to get into 5th gear, and it'll be a nice way to get back to football. They'll probably score a few goals there, the three of them. I'm actually looking forward to watching them play because Suarez was injured and had a bad injury, and that's why they brought Martin Braithwaite in, which was pretty unfair in Leganés, but that's another story for another day. And Suarez, you were looking at that injury and thinking, oh, this is it now. Like, there's no more Messi and Suarez. And the two of them link up so well. Like, they're best friends off the pitch, but on the pitch, they've just got this understanding. And you kind of feel sorry for Griezmann at times because he's kind of like left out on his own in the wing, and you're like, you've been bought for 120 million and they're not even passing you the ball because their link-up play is just that good. So I think
it was always going to be difficult for him to slot into that, though. As the third player, it was always going to be difficult, and under Valverde, it didn't really work.
Yeah, it's a tough role because he was the main man at Atletico. He was leading the line, and all the play went through him, and he was scoring the goals. And his stats there are unreal for 5 seasons at Atletico. But when Messi's there and he's obviously taking the ball and dominating play, of course you're gonna look a little bit idle sometimes because it's all going through Messi. But I think Messi will probably start coming deeper as he gets older, and maybe Griezmann will become the main man and up front. But I think it's great to have Suarez back because he's a quality player and getting older. So you want these kind of classic La Liga players to be around for as long as possible. But I think Mallorca will have a pretty tough time with them this weekend.
Do you think they'll go down this year? I would say they're a pretty safe bet.
I think so, yeah. They've conceded 44 goals, which is the second most in the league. I'm not sure they have the quality going forward either to keep them up. I think teams around them, the likes of Espanyol, have money. They've bought players in the January transfer window, the likes of Raul de Thomas, and he scored goals. So I think they've got goals in them. And then, you've got Leganés, you've got Eibar down there as well. So I think out of them all, Mallorca, I'd fancy them to go down.
Yeah, Celta as well. It's not they don't lose as many games as what you'd think, Celta, but they just don't win games. They draw so many. and that's been a big issue for them. I think Celta could possibly go down as well. I don't know. It's difficult to choose because between Espanyol, Leganés, you would have to say without Braithwaite, I wouldn't fancy them to be great for what's left of the season. And Mallorca as well. I think they've got quite a tough run in Mallorca as well. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting in there.
Yeah, like Espanyol are 20th. They're rock bottom at the moment, but I think they've actually probably got the best squad. They've got a few good players in there, and even though they've been pretty bad and they've had 3 different managers this season, I do fancy them. I think with goals and Raul de Thomas, I think he'll keep them up. And the other teams around them are struggling. I think Mallorca and Leganés will probably get relegated, and then it could be Celta or even Eibar might get in there because Eibar are still 16th. So I don't want Celta Vigo to go down. They're a huge club, but they're looking for another Iago Aspas miracle, and you just can't be doing that every season. Like on paper, at the start of the season, you looked at their team with Rafinha, Denis Suarez, Iago Aspas, and you're thinking these are going to challenge for Europe. And now they're 17th, and there's talk of like problems amongst the squad as well, and they haven't gelled, and there hasn't been a great mood, and they can't beat her. So I think because when you do look at them and they're lining out, you're thinking this team's going to beat whoever they're taking on today. Like they're very, very good.
I think every season there's a team where that happens. Every season there's a team you say they're too good to go down. It usually happens to West Ham. You know what I mean? West Ham in the Premier League, they usually have an alright squad at the beginning of the season, and you think they maybe have a bad start, and you think, oh no, they're too good to go down, and they end up going down. Celta are a little bit like that. I think
or Tevez saves them on the last day.
Tevez was like, Aspas is trying to do a Tevez, but he did it last year as well, despite the fact he was injured, and it was emotionally, physically draining for the guy. And he's being relied upon again. I think they've won 5 games this season. Yeah, Aspas has scored the winning goal in 4 of those games. So it's like they're still relying way too heavily on him, and it's just covering up for a bunch of structural problems that they have within the squad. I think the team just doesn't link up well, and that was a problem with the previous manager, and it's still a problem now.
Yeah, I don't know. They're going to be down there until the end. I think it's going to come to the last day, I reckon, because you've got Espanyol facing all of the teams around them. They're playing Leganés, they're playing Eibar, and they're playing Celta Vigo on the final day of the season. So that game could be huge. Espanyol against Celta Vigo, that could literally be the game that keeps one of them clubs up.
Yeah.
Because I'll call it out quickly. Like you've got Eibar in 16th on 27, Celta in 17th on 26, Mallorca in 18th on 25, Leganés in 19th on 23, and Espanyol in 20th on 20. So from Eibar in 16th right down to Espanyol, there's only 7 points and still 11 games to go. So I think there's going to be lots of movement.
Is De Thomas that good though? Espanyol are right at the bottom, 20 points. All right, they're only 6 points let's say 7 points off safety. Is he that good that you can keep them up?
Well, he hit the ground running. He became their top scorer within maybe 4 weeks of signing. Because they had nobody scoring. So I think with 4 or 5 goals, he already became the club's top scorer, and they paid 20 million for him. I know the current market is a bit mad, but 20 million euro was pretty big fee for a team in the relegation fight. I know they've got money from Chinese owners, and that's not a problem for them. But yeah, I think in general, it's a bit like Celta. Like nobody expected Espanyol to be here. They were always kind of mid-table. They haven't been relegated. Sorry, they haven't been in the Segunda since 1993, 1994. So they are a Primera club, and they'll be nervously kind of anticipating hopefully like a last minute survival, or even before then if the Thomas can score enough goals to keep them up before then, well, but I think it's going to be pretty tight the whole way through.
It would be the greatest comeback ever in their history though, because I think the biggest comeback they had, it was from a very similar position in 03, 04 I think it was, and they just made it last day. But the gap was even bigger this year. So it would be like Herculean if they managed to stay up. But yeah, this guy, you're looking at 20 million for him. That's a bit of a bargain if it means it's going to keep you in the top league. And he did, yeah, as you say, hit the ground running. So again, the thing is, my problem. I like basically every single team in La Liga. I don't want anybody to go down, but somebody's got to go down. It's an obvious statement, but somebody's got to go down. I feel bad for Leganés going down as well, especially what happened with them with Braithwaite. It's just taking the teeth out of their attack completely. So it's a shame for them. It really is. But
don't worry, Tommy. Don't worry. Because you look at Segunda and you've got huge clubs. You've got Real Zaragoza. You've got Rayo. You've got Malaga. You've got Las Palmas, Oviedo, Deportivo. Like, Segunda's a cracking league.
Yeah.
So we will miss whoever goes down, but you've got some big ones coming up as well.
That's true. It's part of football. It's a bit like a friend of mine. He trains guide dogs and he keeps them for 2 years. And then when they become adults, he's got to give them away. And he says it's very sad for about a week, but then you just get a new guide dog. So it's all fine. It's basically like
that. We all need guide dogs for the dogfight.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Guide dogs for the dogfight. Jesus Christ. Oh my Lord. Right. Okay. Madrid. A few headaches for Zidane now because he's basically got everybody back except Jovic and Nacho's just. Is it a knee injury he's got, Nacho? And he's just out.
Thigh muscle injury.
Thigh muscle injury. So he's out and Jovic is out because he dropped a weight on his foot. Was that his one? After his escapades in Serbia, he's hurt his foot in his house or something like that. So he's out. But the rest of the squad are there. So he's now got a problem, Zidane, because it's on one hand you've got a squad that's been fairly inconsistent this season. The last game that they had against Betis, they lost. But you've got everybody available, and the question is, who do you leave out? Especially in the midfield area, I think that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I hate referring to on paper because, we've got no form here or form guide, or we don't have last week's results. But with everybody fit, I think on paper, Marca have been saying all week that it's going to be Benzema, Hazard and Asensio. And on paper, I think that's probably the strongest. But Asensio's been out for so long. He's kept his reputation because he was very, very good before he got injured. Bale's obviously not Zidane's favourite footballer, so he shouldn't be in it. But then you've got Vinicius, you've got Rodrigo, plenty of options. Isco even to play off Benzema as well. So lots of different options. They're suggesting that he'll go with Benzema up top, obviously, because he's their top scorer and he is one of their leaders. So you're gonna have him up there at home to Eibar. And then whoever else plays off him. I think Hazard will, because he's been out injured and he only scored 1 goal in 15 games before that. So he'll be dying to kind of prove a point now because he joined the club a year ago and it's been really, really frustrating. His form hasn't been good. Then he got injured, then he had ankle surgery and he'll be just mad to get on the pitch. So I think he'll obviously be starting and he's quality and he'll probably need somebody like Eibar, no offence or no disrespect to Eibar, but he'll need the team that he can actually get about them and maybe score a goal or two and assist because he'll need to get his confidence back up. His confidence is going to be rock bottom and he's been good in training. There was a couple of jokes during the week because he scored a hat-trick in training and he was saying that's 2 more goals than he scored all season. So he's been getting a little bit of abuse. Obviously, you go to Real Madrid and you're going to expect that as well. But Zidane, it's a good problem for Zidane to have. I think he'll be very, very eager to win this league title because they haven't won it since 2016-17 season, and obviously he won 3 Champions Leagues and he's very, very successful on the European front, but in La Liga he hasn't been as successful because Barcelona have been so dominant. So I think the fact that they're only 2 points behind, they've got a big squad to choose from. He'll be feeling confident, Zidane, but he needs to get some players firing because you can't just rely on Benzema.
No, but Benzema seems to be playing as the sort of the main single striker that they have in the team, and that's been I think one of the more ill-informed criticisms of Madrid this season is that they don't get many goals from strikers. They've only got one. They have to rely on goals from midfield because they tend to play with sort of midfielders. You've got players like Hazard who, in theory, should work as a striker because he's such a good attacking midfielder, but he's still a midfielder. And I think I agree with you. He kind of has to play. The amount of money they spent on him, the profile he's got, the talent he's got, I think he kind of has to play. The question is, who do you bring him in for? If you look at let's go through the lineup of the last game, for example. So that was Madrid versus Betis. They obviously lost that one. The front line sort of thing was Benzema centre forward. To his right was Lucas Vasquez, and then it was Vinicius on the left. Assuming that you're going to put Hazard in, who would you take out? I think Vasquez. This is the headache he's got. Vasquez, no doubt.
Yeah, he's a squad player. Like he runs around and he'll give you 100%, and he's been there for a while, but he's more of a squad player. He's nowhere near the quality of Hazard. And he hasn't lit up leagues like Hazard has. Like Vasquez has won a lot. You look at the CV, it's pretty impressive, but he'll probably be used more as a squad player, especially with rotations so key now over the next 5 weeks. I think that they will put Hazard back in and probably ease him in. He might get 60 minutes. If he does start, he might get 60 or 70 minutes because they're going to have to ease him back in. Like, he's 29, he's not 21 anymore. But I think the main reason maybe for Hazard's lack of form since joining is because he doesn't have that free role, because Zidane's starting to play with more of a structured 4-5-1, 4-3-3, depending on if they're attacking or defending. And with Chelsea, Hazard had that roaming role. He was just that good that managers just let him free. Do what you want, and he'd come in from the right, he'd come in from the left, he'd play through the middle, whereas he's kind of in a more structured formation now, and Zidane's kind of taken that from his days at Juventus playing in Italy. He's used a lot of the Italian style, and you need to be a defender as well. Like Benzema's obviously leading the attack and he's up there on his own, but he expects his players to track back, and wingers have to track back, they have to help out their fullback. So it's more of a cohesive unit now with Zidane, and he really puts a lot of focus on effort and team effort and kind of drills that into them as well. People think, Zidane, it's luxury, it's beautiful attacking football. It's quite organised actually, and maybe that's why Hazard has been affected, because he's been used in a more rigid system than he'd be used to, and just doesn't have that license that he once had. But yeah, he'll be dying to get back out there.
Yeah. A player that you mentioned that I think had been written off previously by quite a lot of people was Isco. How would you rate his sort of mini comeback that he had this season? I thought he did really well in the Champions League and in a few other games. I thought he performed really well.
Yeah, he was very good. He was very good. But again, I think more of a squad player as well. Not in the starting 11s. Zidane likes him because Zidane likes the old guard and he likes the players that won 3 Champions Leagues. And apart from Bale, unfortunately, Bale doesn't get the attention he might deserve from around the club. I think the stats do speak for themselves, and I think Bale at the moment doesn't deserve to be in the starting 11. I think he'll be used as a sub, and like we've seen for most of the season, like he's scored 3 goals, hasn't played as much as he'd like to, but hasn't been used that much either. And it's just Isco's a tricky one because he's getting on as well, and maybe he'll look for a club at the end of the season. I don't know if Zidane has any plans to keep him on, because if you're Isco, you could become maybe like a Villarreal type player and be the best player there, like what Cazorla's doing. Speaking of Cazorla, just a quick tangent, he said last night on radio on El Regaro that he's made a decision on his future, and it's already decided, and it's going to be revealed at the end of the season. He said now's not the right time to reveal it, but I've already made my decision on where I'm going or what I'm doing. So nobody knows if he's going to stay on for another year at Villarreal, if he's going to go to Arsenal, if he's going to become a coach. It's all very exciting.
Going to join his boyhood heroes, Partick Thistle.
Yeah. I think Isco might need a move like that just so we can get the best out of him when he's playing week in, week out, because you're going to be used as a bit part player in that Real Madrid side. Yeah,
I mean, this is the case for lots of them. I think it's just where do you fit in that team, and it also makes me wonder who can they attract for that club in the future, and do they need to attract anybody? I think although the squad's been fairly inconsistent, it is a good team. Player for player, it is a good team, and Isco's still a good player, can still do a job for you. I still think Bale's good, despite the fact he's been long since written off by the support. I think if that was at any other club in the world, you'd have to say he would be valued a little bit more. And I don't know, I think a lot of the pressure, I think a lot of Zidane's attitude comes from the fans. I really do believe that. Just look back to last summer, it didn't really seem logical what Zidane was saying. You know, when else have you heard somebody say of a player, the sooner he leaves, the better? You know, it was unprecedented stuff. It almost seemed like it was coming from
Zidane.
Yeah, but it seemed like it was coming straight from the support. That.
Yeah, he is always very careful about what he says, and he's really quiet at press conferences, and he's got huge respect there. The players love him because he was such a legend, and he's just got this man management skill that he's able to implement, and it works. And he had like massive success as a very, very young coach, and still is a young coach. He's still learning. So I don't know. There's definitely a transition phase coming there, though, because the guys that won the 3 Champions Leagues, 4 Champions Leagues, like Modric, Kroos, Ramos, like they're all coming into the latter years, and there's going to be a huge transition. But I think Madrid are definitely prepared, because if you look at the boys that are out on loan, they've got so much quality. With Hakimi at Dortmund, you've got Kubo, Mallorca, you've got Odegaard to come back, Renier, Rodrigo, Vinicius. So all across the board, they've got a B team there that could probably do quite well in La Liga. Albeit they are very, very young, but I think they're going to be blood in the next couple of years, and they'll all come true. So I think the likes of Isco, Bale, Rodriguez, all their futures have question marks.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months and over the next season, especially given the fact that we don't really know what's happening with transfers these days because of the current situation with COVID and everything. So it'll be interesting to see maybe some of these B team players or youth players coming through, and it'll be a really interesting time for all clubs, not just Real Madrid. Okay, we'll leave it there for today. Seville derby tomorrow. Your prediction was a narrow win for Sevilla.
Just a narrow win. Yeah, I think it'll be a tight one. The fact that both teams will be coming back, first game back, and it's going to take a while. Probably it might feel like a friendly as well with no supporters. It's just a pity because this is one of the biggest games in Europe. It's unbelievable. It's a huge derby. The colour that fans bring, the atmosphere. It's generally a wonderful occasion, something that I'd like to get to someday. But yeah, I think Seville will neck it. And then that's tomorrow night. And then on Friday, we've got 2 fixtures. Granada against Getafe. And your favourite, we've got Valencia against Levante.
Oh, yes, a classic.
You'll be watching that one.
Well, the last one was an absolute cracker. Really good Levante. Sadly, threw it away right on half-time and then collapsed in the second half. But, oh man, it's usually a good game. The one I was at was 2-2. Red card, VAR decision, everything. It was good.
Yeah, so you've got 2 derbies this weekend. And then on Saturday, you've got Espanyol Alaves, Celta Vigo Villarreal, Leganés Real Valladolid, and at 10 o'clock Spanish time, Mallorca Barcelona. And then on Sunday, the last of the 3 games for this game week, you've got Athletic Club against Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid against Eibar, and Real Sociedad against Osasuna. So plenty to look forward to.
Very good. Oh, and one last thing, we'll be doing because football is back, we'll be doing a few Instagram live streams, won't we?
We will.
Tell us about that,
Friday. This Friday, we're gonna have a chat about the Seville derby on Instagram on our Talk Football podcast. So come and join us, give us a follow, and the time will be revealed on Thursday. So we'll keep you posted.
Very good. Yeah, excellent. We'll keep you posted. Okay, well, join us for the live stream on Friday, or if not, join us next Wednesday for at the same time for the podcast. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Adios.
Hasta luego.